To hear from Create Your Future. Guys, I have an exciting video. I have one of our subscribers questions that they've emailed into me. I am going to be reading it and answering it. I know it's going to help a lot of you guys because this is really for anyone that's really stuck in an emotional state and having an emotional reaction to your 3D and trying to manifest an SP where there's a third party and things aren't shifting for you. So this video is definitely for you if you are stuck, okay, and you're not getting any movement for like 5 years, okay. So I am going to read this email. Just before I do, for those of you that are new here, my name is Amanda and I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, hypnotherapist, EFT practitioner, and a certified life coach. And me and my coaches on the team here make videos on how you can manifest anything you want in your life. So just before we dive into it, I do post videos every single Friday. Definitely make sure you're subscribed and the notifications are on, because I also do lives on YouTube and TikTok, and I do them randomly. I don't really have a schedule for it, so it just depends. So definitely make sure you're subscribed so you get notified, because I do answer all of your guys' questions when I do the lives. And I'm not sure if this is for you, but guys, I have affirmation tracks. Now, affirmation tracks to get rid of the third party, to get your ex back, as well as to manifest money. What they're going to do is they're going to help you to reprogram your subconscious mind quickly, okay? That's the name of the game here, is being on top of your thoughts, okay? And my course, How to Create the Relationship You Love, it's going to help you recreate anybody and help you to create a mantra. So it's really, really good. It's helped a lot of people manifest, marriage, their SPs. I mean, so many things, just recreate, I even had a client use it to recreate just as much as having their husband do like housework around the house. There's actually a success story video coming up in a few weeks about that. And guys, if you love success stories as much as me, our Facebook group, Create Your Future with Amanda, Law of Attraction Hacks, is all success stories. So yeah, hop on in there, read them. The more that you're focusing on success and you say, look, use it as a catalog, like create that for yourself as well, okay? Very, very important. And oh yes, my courses and affirmation tracks are on sale. And so link in the description. So as well as, guys, you can comment on my videos and ask me a question. I sometimes answer them, or I answer them in videos. So yeah, definitely it helps me. So we're gonna read this question and we're gonna dive into it, okay? So sorry guys, you know what? I need to change my story here. I'm not going to get bifocals. I refuse. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story and answer my questions. I've been on this journey for 5 years, consistently manifesting. I have a strong history, beliefs, and story on toxic, controlling, emotionally abusive people, trapping empathic people, people pleasing. Okay, so that's a story right there. That's a story. So you know what? I remember really early on in my manifesting journey, well, actually, even before my manifesting journey, I was like, I read this thing and it's like, you may be an empath if, and I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm totally an empath. And you know what? I heard someone talking about people pleasing and I'm like, yeah, I'm a people pleaser too, right? Like, I created this whole story. And then it was like, I was like, do I really benefit from having this story about myself? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to have that story about me that, I'll people please at the expense of myself. No, you know what? I'm a person who has healthy boundaries and, people respect me. And you know what? Regardless of what I do for other people, people like me. I don't have to do anything special for people to like me. So, is this, your strong history and beliefs, on toxic, controlling, emotionally abusive people, trapping empathic, people-pleasing people. You know what, if that's going to be like, if that's what's happening in your situation with your SP with the third party, then you're going to need to change that story. So we're going to come back to that. I mean, I've read through your email and I do think that that story needs to change. Definitely your opinion of him, but let's continue on. I grew up with a parent like that, married someone like that, and then fell in love with an SP that is victim to that. Okay, so we need to change that story. I did a video on this where about, basically how we carry our trauma forward. Okay, so for instance, if you have, okay, let's say one of your parents decides to abandon you, okay, and like leave you, okay, now we turn around and we identify with it and we say, I have abandonment issues. Oh, okay, so now you're like, well, because one person, my mom, okay, left me when I was young, now everybody that I love leaves me, right? And so we've created that to continue because we've looked at the past and we've generalized it. We said, look at people that love us, leave us, okay? So mom left us, okay? Now, then we decide something's not good enough with us. Now, all of a sudden we generalize it and say people that we love leave us. And now we're recreating that pattern because we've created it in our language, in our story. So, one thing to look at is, okay, let's break this down. Okay, your mom left you when you were young. Okay, could it be that there was nothing wrong with you and she had issues? Absolutely. Now, just because she left you, does that mean that everybody has to leave you if they love you? No. So just by being specific about the situation and taking it from a very general, broad, oh, everyone that loves me leaves me because my mom did and I've been carrying this over. Okay, you've carried the pattern. You can let go of the pattern now. I give you permission. Let go of the pattern. We're letting it go. We're no longer going to label people like that and have that pattern. Okay, so your parents, they had that in their marriage. Okay, they made that bad choice. You don't need to make that. Okay, they made that and had nothing to do with you. You're now the person, your new identity is that you are a person that is in respectful relationships. And this SP that you want will respect you because you're choosing to look at him like he is going to respect you. So we're going to dive a little bit more into this, okay? So, okay, so I grew up with parents like that, married someone like that, and fell in love with an SP that was victim to that. I met my SP when we were both trapped in situations, but I divorced my toxic ex, took 10 years. He was emotionally stuck with his toxic ex, third party for years because of the kids. I tried manifesting a peaceful breakup, but that didn't work. I tried changing the story of who the 3P is, but that didn't work. The only way I manifested the breakup was by spending 3 weeks scripting with anger, them fighting, and finally moving out and got his own house out of fear of her. So the current story is he's in survival mode. He's taking care of her house, his house, her emotions, and the kids, completely burnt out, depressed, losing weight, can't sleep, sees flings, third parties, has deep, loving conversations with me, partly prioritizes me, says he loves me and wants to be with me, but can't and won't say why. Right, but so he can't. He doesn't say why he can't and won't say why. Says he loves his kids more than me. In no contact with me because he won't face her to be with me. And then I love your chart here, actually. I quite enjoyed that. Let me take my glasses off. My phone's really small. So the issue is anxious, obsessive, flipping thoughts. Suggestion, don't think about the SP. Put yourself on a pedestal, reject the old story, but don't flip it. So the result was the 3P got pregnant again when I was in no contact. He said he did it out of guilt and we weren't talking. Okay. So I'm going to dive to the questions here because I'm going to talk about these. There is some emotional, like intense emotional triggers. We're doing EFT, tapping, inner work, body work, hobbies, crying, scripting negative thoughts out, apologizing, forgiveness, revising the meaning. Yeah. And here's the important one is like, you said revising meaning, but you don't know how to make, your SP sleeping with other 3Ps not disrespectful. And you know what? And you can't. I agree with that. You can't. So what the big thing here that we want to focus on, right, is that the question is, right, can you forgive your SP for everything they've done, or can you forgive yourself for manifesting that? Now, for me personally, and I don't mean to inflict this on anybody, but me personally, like, I would look at it and be like, okay, so he's not in a committed relationship to me. So I would forgive the sleeping around because he's not, like, there was no commitment saying I will be faithful to you. Okay. There was no, commitment in that sense. Okay. Because right now you got to respect your 3D. Okay. So your 3D right now is that, you're basically, dating, right? I would say dating. If you want to say friends with benefits, that's sort of a negative, way to put on it. So you're dating. He's still not over his last relationship from what I can see. He wants to be with you, but he's not quite over it, okay? So right now you're dating because he does want to be with you. That's a really good place to start, right? But you got to find a way to release this negative emotion. So what we do in NLP is we reframe it. We change the perspective, the way we're looking at it. So like, for instance, if I was to say right now, well, you know what? If I'm living from the end of pretending we're married, okay, and we're not actually married or living together or have a commitment, but we don't, then I'm going to be really angry when he's out sleeping with other people, right? Like, because you don't have a commitment right now, okay? There is no commitment. You guys are just dating, okay? So you're dating, and, I'm going to tell you, probably when I was dating Andrew, he was probably dating other people because we were dating. That's just the way it is, and it was when we decided we were in a serious, commitment together, then I would expect all that to stop. And then at that point, once we had that established commitment, then, it's like, okay, we're deciding now that we're not sleeping with any other people. So it's how can you change your perspective, to forgive it or to let it go? I know you're manifesting him doing this, and it's not about blaming yourself, but it's like at some point, you've got to let go of these negative emotions. Tapping is great and all, but at the end of the day, I find changing my perspective, like, somebody says something, somebody does something, and then, it upsets me, but then I turn around and I'm like, oh, you know what? I just thought it yesterday and I totally manifested it. Like, that's my bad, or, even if I don't take that perspective and somebody does something, that upsets me. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't want to even be upset about this anymore. I'm just going to let it go. Like, it's just not worth me being upset about it anymore. Because when we're holding on to those upset emotions, okay, whatever we're upset about, we're going to be creating more of that, right? So we've got to learn to let go of those emotions, okay? So how do you break anticipated behavior cycles that have been going on for years? Okay, so you do a pattern interrupt. Very important. You interrupt the pattern, okay? You stop yourself, okay? So how does a pattern interrupt look? Okay, so let's say, I don't know, it's going to be the weekend. I don't even know. I know for me, weekends were really tough. When I was single, like, I hated living alone. I hated the loneliness, and so what I would do to interrupt that pattern, like, for instance, here's a good one. So when I was dating Andrew, right, and he said, oh, well, I'm busy, I'm working Friday night. And so all of a sudden, because I hated being lonely and I was interested in him and I started worrying that he was maybe dating other people or whatever, I would like interrupt that pattern with mental diet. And I'd be like, no, you know what? He does want to be with me. He's just working. I totally had that thought this morning. What happens if he's too busy? Da 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 da. And then I would even go and distract myself. I'd be like, no problem. I'm going to go with my friends, have a good time. Okay. So, you've got to interrupt the pattern somehow. And I think that's very important. The other important thing is to distract yourself. Now, you're not supposed to be doing this mental diet obsessively. Okay. And you've got to learn to use things in your environment to help you. Okay. So like, for instance, when we were just dating, I was stalking his Facebook. Okay. And of course, because he's a lawyer, he's a businessman, he's got a lot of people that he was like friends with, probably just for networking reasons or just friends with on Facebook. And I remember I'd go through and I'd be like, oh my God, that woman's good looking. Why wouldn't he date her? And then I had to stop it. And like, I'd see pictures of him with people and I'd have to stop myself and say, no, you know what? I'm going to use this as a catalog. I'm like, and you know what? Every place I seen him with pictures with people who I didn't know who they were, girls and whatnot, I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to be there. 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 We're going to go do that together, And same thing when I would like see couples, I really had to stop myself and say, no, you know what? That's going to be me. That's going to be me. Me and Andrea are going to do that. I really had to basically use everything in my reality, as a catalog. Okay. Like I remember I hated Hallmark movies. Like, oh, did they not just remind me of how lonely I was? But then I had to shift it. And I said, Amanda, you know what? No, you're wasting you're wasting your power by basically making this movie make you feel even worse when you have a choice of how you're going to feel about it. So then I'd watch them and I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm going to create that. Oh, he's going to do that. Oh, we're going to go do that. Right. Oh, my wedding's going to look like that. Right. So, shifting your mindset. Okay. So this isn't about obsessive. Yes, you need to listen to your thoughts and you need to catch them. Okay. So like how my day looks, right? As I go through, like, let's just say one day I wake up and it's like, oh, Andrew seems like he might be upset at me. No, he's fine. Okay. Do. Oh, I'm making something to breakfast. I'm like, oh, I intend this breakfast turns out, or, oh, I almost burnt the eggs. No, breakfast is going to be good. So like all day, I just like catch my thoughts as I'm going. Like it's so, but it's not like, oh, I got to go home and obsessively, flip my whole entire day. No, you just do it as you go, it's like the other day someone was complaining about something and I'm like, well, that's not my experience. Usually I get everything on sale, so it's if you do have massively negative people in your reality, it's going to be difficult sometimes. So start intending that it's always a positive conversation around them. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, this isn't an obsessive thing. It's just a matter of, you have a thought and it's like, do I want to create that? And it's like, no. And it's best done on the spot, because if you save everything up and do it when you get home or at the end of the day, then it's too much. The other thing, is you really need to tell yourself, I've done enough. Okay. I find every once in a while I get into a trap when I'm trying to manifest something that I haven't done enough. Okay. You need to say, look, I've done enough. I have faith in this. I know my manifestation is coming. Faith that your manifestation is coming is a huge thing. It's huge. Okay. You need to have faith, and you need to tell yourself, look, I'm doing my mental diet. I've done enough. It's going to happen. Okay. But the more energy you put towards shifting a story, the better. So how are you going to know if you're doing your mental diet correctly? Is you're not going to have these anger and resentment. Like, you've got to shift that story, that, well, not really, well, the way you're looking at it. Okay. That would be something that, it would be worth talking to somebody about. I mean, you need to shift your perspective and reframe what's happening to a way that's okay with you. So like for me, if it was just me dating Andrew and he was out, dating other people and we had no commitment, I could forgive that. I wouldn't be mad at it. But that's your question. Can you forgive it? I mean, we're all different. And we all have the different levels. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. Everyone's going to have their own opinion, but it's up to you, because ultimately it's your creation, your life, right? So how do you permanently end intense emotional reactions and drop the old story? Well, you keep repeating the new story, okay? And you catch yourself when you're having that. So your biggest, intentions are going to be, the best ones are going to be from the statements that are making you angry, right? Those ones are going to be the biggest ones, okay? How do you revise the old story to believable story when it comes up in the 3D, but still do the mental diet? So you have to ignore the 3D to a point, okay? Meaning do not react to it, okay? What I would do, okay, is you need to build your belief in basically manifesting, okay? Do that little list of manifestations where, your coworker's wearing red, you get free coffee, stuff like that. You see a yellow ball, you see a ladder, you see, it manifests things that are just like, odd enough that you would know it's your manifestation, okay? And you keep doing that list every single day, okay? And you keep checking it and crossing off and adding to it, okay? And this is for you to build your belief and your trust, okay? When you have unwavering faith in your thoughts creating, and that you're the creator of your reality, then it's really easy to let go. When you see the old story showing up, it's easy to go, no, those are just my old thoughts. I'm not buying it. Okay. I'm choosing a new way to feel and a new way to think right now. And I'm reaffirming my new story. Okay. So you will get less of an emotional reaction when you do build your belief. Okay. But I do think some work needs to be done with reframing. So, I don't see right now, you guys aren't in a commitment. So I'm not sure why we're so upset about him, because he hasn't broken any commitment to you, unless I'm wrong on that. Right. Will a list of 40 long affirmations impress the subconscious? Do you manifest shorter lists and steps, but then when the 3D shows you, add something new to the list? Well, I mean, this is what I do, right? So let's say, for instance, I'm manifesting, say, being with Jerry, and Jerry says, well, I'm not interested. I got baggage. And I'm like, no, I intend Jerry's over his baggage. So I pull it back into steps. Okay. So throughout my relationship, everything I manifested, I've had like little blocks along the way that I've had to deal with. So like, you know, when it came to like, so let's get this right now, let's just make your end just getting him to be in a committed relationship with you, period. Okay. Or even let's make the end just getting rid of the third party. So ultimately you guys want to be together. Before that, he's going to propose to you. Before that, you're going to move in together. Before that, you're going to be in a committed relationship. Before that, he's getting rid of the third party, right? And before that, you know, so I mean, that's where, or you can change those steps around, right? So how do you deal with your loneliness when you lived alone? That's, you know, how do you not be so attached to SP when you don't have a family? So, you know what, I did struggle with the loneliness a lot, okay, a lot. And, you know, I basically just went out with my friends and then I did whatever, you know, I would do as a single person. So I remember way back when somebody said, oh, you know what, clean out your closet, clean out your nightstand, and that's how you manifest somebody. And I was trying to manifest this person, and thank God I actually didn't, because I realized now they weren't the person for me. And I actually ended up meeting Andrew and was like, actively was like, oh, he's the guy off my list, right? But you know, and what happened was is because I cleaned out physically, but I didn't do it mentally. Okay, so you need to be neutral. Okay, you need to be neutral. Okay, so you've got to shift yourself to feeling neutral. You got to find a way to get past your anger and your resentment. Okay, and if you can find a way to get past that, then you're good. And then when you start, you know, finding yourself getting upset and crying, you need to stop yourself. Okay, and you need to remind yourself, I'm a powerful creator and I can have what I want, and this is what I want. Okay, and in those times of loneliness, you know, it's really great to distract yourself, to have a hobby, to find some friends. Okay, because you know, if you were, you know, it's okay, you know, to be lonely. Pick up the phone, find somebody to hang out with, you know, find something to do that helps you to pass the time, because you do need to distract yourself. Okay, you can't just be looking. You have to look away for a little bit to let the universe do what it's going to do. Okay, so one thing you need to tell yourself is when you're doing your mental diet, you know you're doing it right because you're going to shift how you're feeling. Okay, so this whole list of affirmations is great and all, but when your mental diet is really important is when you're angry, when you're reacting, when you're crying. What are you thinking about? These thoughts are manifesting too. In fact, these thoughts are so strong that you're actually putting emotion to them. Okay, so okay, I'm not saying it's okay to cry and react, but if you're not getting movement, then we're spending too much time there. We need to move on from that. Okay, so if you were in the relationship with him that you want now, would you be doing any of that? No, you wouldn't. So that's what living from the end is. It doesn't mean acting and pretending like you're married now. It's going, okay, how would you be inside of your head and in your reactions if you were in a relationship with him? Okay, so you can still go out and date and all that. That's fine, because you know, you've got to respect your 3D. If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. Okay, but what I'm saying is you don't have to act like you're married in the 3D. It's going to cause resentment. Okay, you're still, you know, have fun, go out with your friends. You don't have to date if you don't want. That's a preference to you, but you know, live your life still. Okay, we're not pining over anybody. You put yourself on the pedestal by saying, look, I'm good enough for him to show up. Okay, I'm good enough for him to love me, to prioritize me, respect me. Okay, the other one you want to do is that he's over his baggage and ready for a relationship. Definitely. You also, you know, you don't want to be anxious and obsessive about flipping your thoughts. So what you're going to need to say here is that, you know what, he's over his baggage. He's ready to be in a relationship with me. And he knows that his ex can have a healthy life in a relationship with somebody else. And as well as, you know what, I think it's okay. I mean, so he says he loves his kids more than you. I mean, is that okay? Or is that not okay? That's your choice, right? I mean, you know, but I wouldn't make that mean that he doesn't love you, right? So, you know, you can say, well, I intend he loves, you know, me and the kids. Like, he doesn't have to love one over the other, you know, but what feels good to you really is the question here, right? So, you know, I would intend that he's over taking care of his house. He doesn't need to do that. You know, the 3P, his ex-wife has found someone new, like they're divorced. and she's found someone new, and he's not needed around the house anymore. Okay. So, and no contact because he won't face her to be with me. Okay, so you know what? He's a man. He knows what he wants, and he stands up to her to be with you. So, I think although a lot of this, stems from your story, about the where was it? Yeah. So strong belief on, toxic, controlling, emotionally abusive people, trapping empathic, people-pleasing people. That story definitely needs to change, because it's just getting, replayed out, right? So you do want to wish well to the 3P. And the reason I'm going to say that is because whenever we manifest something for somebody else, we're possibly doing it for ourselves as well. Okay, all of our thoughts create. I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and they were saying, well, I remember, they had back pain years ago, and they were just thinking about it. Oh, I remember when I had back pain, and then all of a sudden it happened. Okay, because our thoughts create. Okay, so not every thought looks like it creates, because it has to sort of weave in between of all of your beliefs and your thoughts and your assumptions. But if you've got nothing blocking it, it's going to show up. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you've got a story that the 3P is like untouchable, everything good only happens to them, like obviously like what you're doing now. I mean, they're getting everything, you're getting nothing. So if you were like, well, that's it, I'm going to ruin her life, it may, like, thoughts are things. Okay, so she's never going to find anyone, she's going to be unhappy forever. Like, just focusing on that is just a bad vibration for you and everybody else. Like, it may show up for you or somebody else, right? So we want to be very careful what we wish onto others, because it has the possibility to manifest in our lives or somebody else that we know that we're not necessarily meaning it to be. Okay, because again, your subconscious mind has to ruin somebody's life, and it may not attach and stick to the 3P because you've got a contrary story there. Okay, and it may stick to you or somebody else. So always on the air of caution. Okay, you don't even need to make her a good person and find somebody else. You just maybe just need to change the story about him, like, massively. Okay, he's over his baggage, he's ready to be with you, he will stand up for her. You know what, you're good enough to have somebody who's healthy, and you need to start seeing him as an emotionally healthy person, and you need to start creating yourself as an emotionally healthy person. And I don't say this really lightly, because I went through so much in my childhood. I did not come from a perfect childhood at all. Okay, I won't get into details, but it was not good. Okay, but what I've learned over the years, is that was that situation, and it doesn't have to carry over. Okay, it doesn't, just because that was a bad childhood, right, and it was traumatic, doesn't mean I need to take that baggage with me. Okay, so forgiving and moving on is just that, to let it go. So you need to find a way to forgive and to let go of these negative, traumatic sort of feelings. You've got to let them go. I mean, they can't stay. They can't stay. So yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you know what you're doing, a mental diet correctly, just making sure I didn't miss anything, um, yeah, you need to flip your story enough where, you're not crying. You need to stop and say, well, why am I crying here? It's like, for instance, if like, let's say Andrew does something and it hurts my feelings. Okay. And I get upset, and then, like, I'm crying because I feel like he did it on purpose. But then as soon as I think to myself, no, he didn't do it on purpose, then I'm good. So I don't know enough about what those negative thoughts are, but I mean, you want to see if you can shift them. I mean, the name of the game here is to let go of that negative emotion, and getting past it is so incredibly important. Okay. So however you can reframe that to change your assumptions is going to be everything. And then, when you do have those moments of intense emotional triggers, you need to stop yourself and have a conversation. Where is this coming from? What am I thinking? Do I really want to create that? So remember, everything in your reality right now is just your previous thoughts. I guess the big question here is, can you forgive them? Can you let go of the resentment, the anger? Right? Because that's everything that you need to let go of. And then when you start having thoughts that are creating that in you, you need to choose and say, no, you need to break them. The more you interrupt that, the less it's going to happen. Okay. Like I was just working with somebody, you know, and I was chatting with them, and, you know, it's one of my friends, and, you know, they have these negative thoughts. And the funny thing was, is I gave them a list of intentions to like do 2-3 times a day, and just like a mantra even. And you know what? And the next week they were like, oh my goodness, like, no, I'm those negative thoughts aren't really coming in anymore, because you got to catch them. So when these negative responses, these reactions are coming, that's when you need to interrupt it. The quicker you catch it and interrupt it, and the more often you interrupt it, and you start replacing them with thoughts that make you feel good, you're going to shift your whole reality. So it's not just about having a list of 40 affirmations here. It's about actively catching yourself when you're thinking something that's upsetting you. Because when you're thinking of something that's upsetting you, it's actually going to show up in your reality. And that's the part that sucks. Trust me, I know. I've done it, okay? So I intend that this video helps everybody that's, you know, basically has their SP on a pedestal, and, you know, and with a third party, okay? So you need to change your story about your SP. They're over their baggage. They're ready to be in a relationship with you. They're done spending their life, you know, doubting over their ex, and they're sick of it. They're ready to move on with you. And they love you just as much as their kids, if not more, okay? And you know what? You guys can be a happy family, or however you want to slice it. That's completely up to you. You know, I mean, I was really, you know, honored and blessed when I married Andrew. His daughter called me stepmom, because I am a stepmom, and I'm a grandma to his kids, right? So you choose what you want your dynamic to look like in your relationship, right? So, you know, spend some time on that. But again, I can't, you know, how can you reframe what's going on to release those emotions? Because, you know, tapping and everything is great and all, but changing the perspective. So like I said, if you guys aren't in a committed relationship, like I get that these 3 Ps, that it get hurts, the flings, but if you're not in a committed relationship, you're not in a committed relationship, you know? So maybe you are, maybe I'm getting that wrong, but I'm not reading that from here. So anyway, I really hope that this helps you. I really do. I hope that there's some great information in here. Yeah, a mantra, you know, there would be a few mantras here, you know, but really you need to work on your self-concept. But one really good mantra for you is, look at, he's over his baggage. He's ready for a relationship with me because I'm good enough. You know what? We're both 2 mentally healthy, stable people. And, you know, and you may have to change up your mantra, because there is a lot there that you are dealing with. But again, I can't stress enough that when you shift out of that negative emotion, you are going to see such a difference. You know, the quicker you can stop yourself from crying, the quicker you can stop yourself from, you know, getting, you know, reacting, the better. You're going to speed this right up, okay? Some of my manifestations come so easily because I just observe, and I've just decided this is not worth getting angry over anymore, okay? So, you know, and if you want to manifest an apology from him, then you definitely can, but you need to get into that state first, okay? So you need to let go of all this anger and hurt and decide it's not serving you. And I do sometimes think that emotions can be addicting. I think those little peptides or something, I don't know, but I mean, you know, we need to break the cycle. So anytime you see yourself starting to get emotional, you know what, get on your mental diet, start switching your thoughts. You know, when you have the thought, you know, of getting upset that, you know, that he's out with a fling, okay, do you really want to create that? No, it's not going to happen again. Okay, he wants to be with me. Okay, those are the important times to get on your mental diet. Okay, anyways, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.